Yeah? Is that everyone? One more. All right, just testing the sound. It sounds perfect. That's good. You hear us at the back? Awesome. All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to the 2021 HMA launch event. Such a fantastic turnout tonight. A lot of new faces, which is great to see. And it's just a great opportunity to get to host the 2021 kickoff event this year. So my name's Graham Sheekey, Head of Operations for the Chamberlain Group. I'll run through some housekeeping, and then I'll introduce you to the key speaker tonight. So mobile phones, just make sure they're switched to silent. Emergency exits. So the meeting point is out the front on the lawn near the gate where you came in, and there is exits down the side of the building and also the rear of the building. We do have some automated machinery running tonight. We've just switched them off for the speeches. They're a little bit noisy, so we'll flick them back on for the tours at the end. And the toilets are located in the downstairs office area, and there is signage if you head that way. So instead of me talking a little bit about GriffGo, we've got a pre-prepared video. Makes it a lot easier. Just goes for a couple of minutes. So Em, if you do the honours. All right.
GriffGo remains the largest manufacturer of commercial and industrial water rights in Australia and New Zealand. They've been manufacturing in Australia for over 100 years. I've been with the business for over 13 years. With our business development team, I have a key role in supporting our export business in the Middle East, as well as working on other emerging market opportunities. We have major warehouse and distribution centres right around Australia and New Zealand who choose GriffGo openers. There are so many places where GriffGo motors are installed. Sydney's Anzac Bridge, where they use a GriffGo winch to raise and lower the Australian flag every single day. The new Optus Stadium in Perth has more than 200 GriffGo openers installed. We have a major site at Tullamarine Airport in Victoria that has more than 400 doors, all operating on GriffGo openers. GriffGo's largest customers are commercial door manufacturers. Our product development team are working on new drive systems and ideas that will keep us ahead of the competition we continually face in our markets today. Through this investment the business has made in people, equipment and process development, this really places us in a great position for the future. My favourite thing about working at GriffGo, it's about the people. We all have the same sense of purpose, our customer. They are our business. It would be fair to say that the relationships have developed into true business partnerships.
All right. Unfortunately, Tony couldn't be here tonight. He would have been happy to sign some books or shirts or something like that, the major star. But on to the next one. So I'll introduce Stephen Smith, the chairperson for HMA.
Thanks, Graham. Well, welcome everybody to the launch of the 2021 HMA Awards. It's so pleasing to see so many of you here this evening. We would like to thank you for your support of our mission to inspire vibrant and enduring manufacturing in the Hunter. And that Hunter for us covers the area of Lower Hunter, Upper Hunter, Mid-North Coast and of course the Central Coast. So we're very pleased that we can hold tonight's launch here on the Central Coast and be joined by a number of Central Coast manufacturers. I'd like to thank Frank Samet for the work that he did in coordinating a lot of those attendees tonight. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it at the last minute, but no doubt we'll see him at future functions. For those of you that don't know, Frank is one of the new board members of HMA this year, along with Brad Allen, sitting up towards the front, and Christy Headley, who's with Headweld Engineering up at Singleton. I would like to express a very special thank you to Chamberlain Group for hosting our event this evening and the hospitality that we enjoyed to kick the evening off. Some of you may know Chamberlain was awarded Manufacturer of the Year in 2019. And based on previous practice, they would normally have hosted the launch of the awards last year. However, COVID put a stop to that. So 12 months later than planned, it is great to have them as our hosts tonight. This year the HMA launch is being held during the Hunter Innovation Festival. The board considered that it was quite appropriate, given so much of our manufacturing capability and products are underpinned by innovation that occurs across our region. The Hunter Innovation Festival has provided the following brief presentation for this evening's event. I did say it was brief. As I noted earlier, HMA's mission is to inspire vibrant and enduring manufacturing in the Hunter. Historically, the primary way we've achieved this is by acknowledging and celebrating the successes achieved by manufacturers through a gala awards night. And whilst that will continue, we seek to do more, and this year we intend to resurrect the HMA Insights events that we started in 2019. These nights provide us an opportunity to shine the light on local manufacturers who are keen to tell their stories, the journeys that they've undertaken to achieve the successes that they currently enjoy. And in the process, hopefully, we can inspire others to start their own journeys. In addition to the Insights events, we'll be seeking interest from companies who would be willing to take part in a program with the current working title of Meet Your Local Manufacturer, in which HMA participating companies would open their doors to other manufacturers in the region for the purposes of exhibiting the capabilities that they have and thereby potentially extending the opportunities for collaborative work. We'll provide more details on those two initiatives soon. In 2021, I am again pleased to welcome Downer as HMA's major sponsor for the 14th year. We thank you for your valued support of the manufacturing sector, and we'll be hearing from Aaron Stilburn, Manager Project Management Services New South Wales, in a few minutes. And I should acknowledge that it was actually Aaron's idea, or Aaron's discussion with me, that raised the concept of Meet Your Local Manufacturer. And so he's a very keen advocate for that program. As many of you would also be aware, the HMA Awards are wholly dependent upon our ability to attract a range of sponsors, partners and supporters. And I'd like to assure you that the board of HMA does not take such commitments for granted. I would therefore like to publicly thank all of the organisations that have renewed their sponsorship, partnership and supporter status this year, together with those who have come on board for the first time. You've obviously noticed the rolling PowerPoint presentation behind me. I can see the eyes looking at that than me, and I can understand that. And so all our sponsors, supporters, etc., will be rolling through the evening. This year we would like to issue a warm welcome and thanks to TAFE New South Wales, Biscuit, Siren Holdings Group and Monica Clare Recruitment, as first-time award sponsors of HMA. And this year, for the first time, we have a video sponsor in Headweld Group, who are a long-term supporter of HMA. We also welcome Hunter MLA, who have come on board as the 2021 entertainment sponsor. And this year, we've introduced associate sponsorships for companies that wish to support HMA outside of award category and segment sponsorships. And Amp Control Group and Hornby Transport have kicked off our list of associate sponsors in 2021. For those of you that would like to know more about sponsorship or becoming an HMA supporter, please see Carol, our admin manager. She will be more than happy to give you the full details. So tonight we officially kick off the nomination period for the 2021 awards. And this year it's for the full suite of award categories as noted in this presentation. Registrations for the awards open tonight, The application forms will be available online from next Monday. Applicants have until the 13th of August to complete their submissions, and all relevant details about the process are available on the HMA website at hma.org.au. The 2021 awards event will be held at Newcastle Exhibition and Convention Centre, otherwise known as NEX, in Newcastle on Friday the 15th of October. So don't forget to put that into your diaries sooner than later. Earlier this week, the Australian Industry Group released the Australian Performance of Manufacturing Index for April 2021. This is a monthly indicator of growth or contraction in the manufacturing sector. And pleasingly, in April, it reached the highest monthly result since March 2018 and was the 7th consecutive month of recovery from the severe disruptions of COVID last year. So manufacturing in Australia is looking very good. We hope this increased level of activity bodes well for all of you, and it places you in a good position to apply for multiple award categories this year. We'd ask that you could help us spread the word about the awards. There are many companies here tonight who may not be manufacturers, accountants, lawyers, bankers, recruiters. However, you will all have clients or contacts who are manufacturers. So please let them know about the awards and encourage them to become involved. So at this point, I'd like to call on Aaron Stilburn to come forward and say a few words to us. Thanks, Aaron. And thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Carol, for putting on a great event tonight. And thanks, Graham, for, I guess, Grifco holding us here at your premises and your facility. It looks good. Hopefully get some good ideas and take it back to Downer. I guess, first of all, I'd like to congratulate the people who won last year as part of the 2020 HMA Awards. So to those people and those businesses, congratulations. I guess, as Steve said, Downer's been a part of the Hunter Manufacturing Awards now for 14 years, so I've been part of it. This is my 3rd year, so hopefully a few more years to go on that. So I think 2019 was the last time I saw a lot of these faces here at a facility, which was McLenahan's down in Cameron Park, so it's really good to get out and about now and I guess experience other places and other businesses. As Steve said, I had the chat at the start of this year, was really trying to see what else we could do as part of, I guess, the 2021 Hunter Manufacturing Awards is about, and my thought process was to start opening some of the doors and getting around and having a look. So I'm happy to put the Downer and the Cardiff Maintenance Centre up for the first place to open its doors. So once we get a program and something underway and something understood, the doors will be open. We can all come and have a look and see what and the Cardiff boys and girls can do. So I'll keep it short and sweet tonight. So it's really good to get out once again to come and see what Grifco does, come and meet and greet some of the people we have here. I think, as Steve said, with the awards now kicking back off and with a broader selection of awards to go for, I encourage everyone here to be a part of that. I know Downer will be looking at it from recommendations from Carol tonight. Thank you very much. So once again, thanks everyone for turning out tonight, and thanks Grifco for putting on the feed, and we're really keen to see what you guys and girls have got here, so I'd like to take some learnings back to Downer and see what we can do. Thanks very much everyone, have a good night.
All right, thanks Aaron, thanks Steve. All right, so I've got a short, another little video. It's a bit of a case study, a local case study. So I guess Grifco has been manufacturing the same old gearbox for years and years, decades and decades. But the latest technology, you can now open and shut your door with your phone. So we'll just have a short little video on a local company around the corner that's implemented such a system.
Open the roller door that suits that delivery drive, let them in, I can check that the beam is on, I can then close the door, lock it up. It's all done without me to walk all home. My name's David, work for Airpack Sheet Metal, I'm a foreman, and here based here on the Central Coast of New South Wales. We manufacture air conditioning ducting, particularly for large commercial use all around Australia. I might go out and save you time and money. if I'm not here, everything works smoothly. It's a time save. I know the doors are open, people are working, you check back to event time. It's efficient. For a company like Airpack Sheet Metal, you go through so many hours in the day, I need to know what's going on at all times. And the MyQ app delivers that. So the MyQ alerts are great. If I'm going to know on the phone, it tells me if someone's come or gone, if they've opened the door, what door they've opened up, so I can know on my phone who's been there, what's happened, and how it's gone. Just having that knowledge is great, just for the safety aspect of it. And MyQ app has a shared access in the app. If I'm not here, absent, I'm on site, and I need one of the boys up at the factory. I can give them temporary access through the app. I know exactly who's got the access to the app. Once they've opened the door, it alerts me what time he's opened the door, what time he's closed the door. I have a full log on everything that person's done. Once the access is finished, I can remove that member and move on. The scheduling is great on the MyQ app. I can open up the scheduling. For someone else that started at 3:30 in the morning, I can have it scheduled so it opens up. We close at 4. I can schedule it at 4. When the boys see the doors come down, they know the day's done. We pack up, clean up, and go home.
So Airpack were previous winners, I believe, in 2017 HMA Award Excellence in Innovation, I think, or yeah, I think that was the award. So it's great to see other local manufacturers doing great things. So we have a number of Chamberlain employees here today to facilitate some tours. So if you have a look on the name badge, you'll see a Chamberlain employee. You can ask them questions. We are going to break up into 3 groups. So myself will host one group. Rodney Bogue, if you put your hand up, Rod, he'll host. Rod is the head of product and services. And then the third group by Shane McParlin. He's the manufacturing manager. So I think we're going to have to break into about groups of 16. We're going to separate you into 3 sections of the factory and away we go. I think that's all we need to do. And we're ready to rock and roll. All right.
Press the button. Well, we got 10 to 15, 16. Come over here, guys. We'll go around. 4, 5, 6, 7. You guys want to come Alright, here we are. Welcome, guys. Welcome to Chamberlain Group. My name's Rodney. I'm the head of products and services. Tommy. Tommy runs all the get around here and all the fancy boxes and stuff. Tommy runs here. I've been with the business for about 6 years. Tommy's been here for 15 years. 15 years Sunday. He was 7 when he started. But so a lot of long-term employees here at Chamberlain Group. This is the Grifco. You'll hear Grifco and you'll hear Chamberlain Group. We work for the Chamberlain Group and our brand of commercial operators is Grifco. A long history of Grifco as a company has been.
How are we going, Pete?
Good. Just need to know my tour guide. It was going to be mine.
Do you know which one it was going to be?
I did meet him, I can't see him.
Shane? Here he is.
Get that into the top of the hollow there.
Like that? Yep.
Yeah. So this is for the so, yeah. Alright, I'll begin.
Okay, we're good to go. We'll get started. Well, again, like Graham said, thanks to everyone for coming tonight and seeing our operation. So, can I get a show of hands who has been through here before? Okay, awesome. Not as many as I was thinking. So yeah, look, my name's Shane. I've been with the company for close to almost 23 years now. So I started when I was 8, before all those laws kicked in. But and I got Thomas with me as well. He's a fresh kid on the block, so he's the machining leading hand. So any questions about machining? No, I'm not going to throw you under the bus like that. But yeah, look, so I guess the factory is kind of split up to 4 main areas, I suppose. So all of our CNC machining equipment is on this side of the factory. Then we have our assembly area in the middle of the factory. On the other side, we have our laser cutting and plastic injection moulding, and then our dispatch area is here. So we'll start with machining. The interesting part is where I cut my teeth, so to speak. So, but yeah, if we turn around, so this is kind of our, I guess, the older part of the machining area. So they're all Akuma machines, which is a top-notch Japanese CNC machine. Our old one in the corner there has been with us since about 1998, pretty much when I started. And again, these are not as fancy as the robots, but they obviously play a big part. So we do with our robotic cells, that's doing most of the high volume bits and pieces that go into our gearboxes. And these ones here are doing more of some high runner parts, but more basic components that go through this part of the operation. So we can see they've got bar feeders on them, so we can put the material on the back of the bar feeders, and it just pushes it through automatically, makes a part, spits it into the catcher, and then the boys come along and clean them out of the catcher. So we have our U-Wave station there that you can see with the 2 computer screens. So that's something we went to about a year or so ago. So we did have, we were printing out A3 bits of paper, doing checks, writing them down every 5, 10, 15 or so. But the U-Wave station now is all wireless measuring, so we can use wireless micrometer and verniers, and by the press of a button, the size that they measure goes straight into the database, and it's all kind of live, and we can track the quality side of things. So saving the trees, there's no more printing, having to save the quality sheets somewhere. It's all done on that database and that U-Wave measuring system. So yeah, so this is that part. So we might move to the lean board now, if that's okay. So we've been on the lean journey now for, I would probably say, close to 10 years. And yeah, our lean boards have swapped and changed. So they started just literally on whiteboards with bits of paper, and we kind of, we thought we got clever, and we put plasma screens all through the factory and thought we'd get, you know, high tech. But when we went to that, we seemed to lose a lot of kind of buy-in from the floor, because all of a sudden it was more managers and that putting the results on the screens and what they thought was wrong with the areas and stuff. But we all got put through a Cert 3 in Lean about a year or so ago, and the first thing they did was they said, we'll get rid of all the plasmas and let's get back to basics where the guys are in full control of their own area, which makes sense, right? But we didn't see that at the time. So every day, each area huddles around their lean board, as we call it, and we always start with safety. So safety is our focus here, and we live and breathe safety. And then we go to our next thing, which is quality, and always productivity is third in line. So we kind of have that motto, right, that if safety and quality is looked after, then kind of production will take care of itself. So we can see our zero harm phone dial, as we like to call it there. So again, we want to see lots of greens. Green and blue is not a bad thing, so that means we've had a safe day, but there's been some hazards raised. But we don't want to see reds, and certainly don't want to see yellows either. So we can see here, if there's an issue that's come from, you know, since January to April, the guys will write down what the issue is, what the solution is, and then yeah, they're in charge of kind of fixing the problem. Of course, if you know we need to purchase something or do something, you know, management and that will help out. But most of the time, the guys on the floor, you know, fix their own problems, which is what we want. So, and same with quality, same thing. So we'll probably get a bit nervous if we see too many greens, but you know, red's not a bad thing, right? Because, you know, obviously something's happened, and we can see here, same deal. There's an issue, and what's the solution? And again, the guys are all coming up with those solutions, which is great. And then we move to productivity, same deal. The supervisor leading hand will set hourly targets for the machine per day. If we hit that, it's a green. If we don't, it's a red. And then same thing, what was the issue? Were we late on material arriving? Did a machine have a tool breakage, etc.? And then we can do some A3s on that and go, okay, well, we've seemed to break that same drill every week. It's an expensive drill. We need to have an A3 and a problem-solving session to try and prevent that from happening. And then we have our training matrix right in the heart there, which is all the guys' names and all the tasks. So probably skipping forward a little bit here, but when we put our robots in, I guess people got a little bit nervous in regards to, they're going to lose their jobs over, the robots are going to do what the humans were doing. But we had the motto that no one would lose their job when the robotics come in, and we've stood by that. So now what we do is we have the guys that were standing there doing what the robots are doing, they're cross-trained in maintenance on the machine. So instead of having to call a Coomer out and a couple of $100 an hour to get them to service the machines, the guys can now do that, for example. Or, Thomas, new on the block, but soon we'll get trained on the laser cutter, for example. So if our laser cutter man's away, Thomas can go and help out over there. So that's, again, a big plus with having the robots. They do all the boring stuff that, humans don't want to do, and our humans do all the fun stuff like maintenance, cross-training, days out in the field, etc., etc., etc. So, again, the lean boards are a big part of our culture here, I suppose. So, and like I said, they tell us a good story, and the guys are in complete ownership of these boards. So, is there any questions about the lean board that anyone has? All okay? We might move down to the fun stuff. How's that sound? So we'll move on to the robotic cells. So we have two robotic cells here. So we have one which is our gear machining cell, and we also have our shaft one. So literally with the gears, it kind of is what you can see. So the raw material is on one stillage, the finished parts on the other stillage, and the robot just sits there waiting for the machine to finish. So where this machine is much better than the older machines, is this machine actually has two chucks. So it can actually do half the part in one chuck, and then the second chuck comes forward and takes the part out, and then the other turret will work on that to complete the part. So these gears, for example, were a 5 operation process before we put the robotic cell in. So someone would hand load the blank, do 1,000 of them, hand load it in and do the second operation, put it on a gear cutting machine, put it on a broaching machine for the keyway, and then put an actual insert in there as well. So now this is all done and completed in obviously one go. So it's a fair cycle time, but hopefully we'll get to see the robot do its thing in a sec. But again, and every part will get gauged. So the bore on this component is critical because it gets pressed onto a shaft. So every component gets put onto the gauging station. It's taking a measurement, and I think we're chasing 0.2 of a millimetre on this particular dimension, and it feeds the information back to the machine, and then makes the adjustments, because obviously the tools wear, temperature fluctuates, and again, chasing 0.2, I think a hair thickness is 0.1. We're chasing 0.2 of a millimetre here, so it's fairly tight. It's even tighter on the shaft cell, and yeah, that's I guess the gist of that robotic cell. So, Thomas, how long we got to go before the next one loads, mate? Oh, excellent. We timed it all right. Okay.
And you said every component, Shane, gets
correct.
measured. Yeah.
Yes, so it's got a little plug gauge. So it's just on the left-hand corner closest to us. A little plug gauge comes up, takes the reading, and we can see up on the screen at the moment, so that's just a replica screen so you don't have to walk all the way around to see how it's going. It's literally spot on the middle of tolerance. So I think it's 35.935, so that's exactly in the middle, which is good. That's what we want. Yeah, so again, the main chuck will be empty now, so it'll be waiting for the blank to be put into the main one. And then the robot, the second hand of the robot will go and pick the completed part out of the sub spindle, and then it will just keep repeating the process. That's a long 30 seconds, Thomas. Maybe it just seems long for me.
What's that, Shane? Is that a fennook? I can't see.
A fennec, yeah. A fennook is, I always call it the Australian way, the fennec, but yeah.
Okay.
Correct, yes. 99% of the time. Yeah, so the boys have got the... And that was some... I won't talk now, I'll let it do its thing, but... Feel free to get closer, it's not gonna... won't bite. So the door's closing now because it's got the new part loaded in there, and then the robot will do its thing. So we've only got the robot on about 20% speed because the cycle time's 5 minutes, so there's no point flogging the robot if we don't have to. So it does move a lot quicker than that, but we've just governed it down just so we don't have to repair it so often. So it's just taking a reading up on the screen. It'll show that result. So I can see the green bar is a smidgen to the left of centre. That's one thing God did give me, is good eyes. And then, and so it'll report that 0.001 or so that it's out back to the machine. It'll adjust that boring tool, and that's how it kind of keeps in spec. There's also sister tools in the machine. So one cutting tool will do about 100 parts, and then it'll swap to its sister tool, and then that will do the next 100 parts. So I just took it to a regrip station over there because when it grabs the one off the deck here, it's not always grabbing it perfectly. So it takes it to the regrip station, gets a regrip on it, because as you can imagine, if that's not put into the machine properly and it's sticking out of the chuck ever so slightly, you know, the turret doesn't know that and it's going to come down and pound into the job, which is what we don't want. So the regrip stations has been very handy for us. So that's kind of the gear one. We might move to the shaft cell now if that's okay. So I guess the shaft cell come about. So originally we did try and have all of the shafts and gears on the one machine. That just didn't work. The machine needed to run, you know, 8 days a week and 30 hours a day. So we ended up splitting it, and like I said, that completely does all of our gears, and this is all of our shafts through here now. So where it's different to that one is that you can see there's two machines. So machine one there is doing the first operation, and machine two is doing the second operation. So it literally kind of split our cycle time, or halved our cycle time, I should say, by having the two machines going at the same time. So the second op machine is just naturally a bit quicker than the first op machine. But like you can see now, it's got the raw material in its hand, and it'll load the first machine. So that part's obviously half done because it's got to hold on to something, right? So it's holding on to the raw material. The robot will feed it in, and you'll see the robot hand just go past the face of the job, because sometimes we can get long bars from the supplier or it doesn't feed it in properly. And that was a big fix we did. For about $1,500, Fennec programmed that robot to do a float, and if it detects a bar, it'll actually take it out, put it into that bin there and grab another one and start the process again. So that was a huge thing we did for very little money. It's got us out of trouble a lot of times. So I just took it to a regrip station there, regripped the first op part, and now it's going to get the second op, the finished component out. It has to do it in 2 goes though, because it is a long shaft, so it regrips it, goes back, grabs it again. And again, because machine one has a fair cycle time, we don't try and kill the robot by going too fast. So it's just going at a kind of a nice steady speed. And it does a similar thing. It'll regrip it, put the part in again.
You have guys that can do the programming on site?
We do. So both cells were set up as like a turnkey system, where Kumar and Fennec and Marpos put it all together. But we have had to tweak the programs a fair bit from what they originally started at, yeah.
That's the job you said saves you heaps.
Yep.
Is that if the bar's too short, is it?
Oh, when it puts them into here?
Yeah.
Only if it's too long. Yeah.
Why doesn't it just machine it back?
Because it's got to have a known, so the machine comes down to a known point and it will start to face the part is the first process. If the bar's hanging out here, it literally tries to part off that much material, which that tool's not designed to do.
Right, okay.
And it puts the turrets out, and it's a massive job. Yeah. So you can see it gauged that part. I must have missed it. Oh, sorry, it's regripping it now. So it gauged it, and it's a good component. So now it's going to put it back into the stillage and grab the next raw part. So it's going to go past a sensor here just to detect where the end of the bar is. and they'll put it into the regrip station and grab it, and then wait for its command. And that's kind of the process. We kind of timed that one a bit better than that one. We'll see over here though, there is a reject stillage, which is what we don't have in that machine. So meaning when that machine has a reject part, it stops. So we are looking to implement, because we did learn a lot from that first machine. You know, it's been a long road. We've had this one for about a year or so, and it's still a bit of a journey. So just recently we changed material to a heat-treated material to try and get more consistency. When someone's loading these parts by hand, they're pulling the swarf off. They're doing all of that. The robot won't do that for you. So if there's swarf wrapped around the part, it tries to load it in machine 2. Lots of things can go wrong. So yeah. So again, that's what the boards are for. If the machine stops, the guys put the problem on the board. As a team, they try and solve the problem. And then if it needs to, you know, they'll have the A3 session and go a bit deeper. But sorry, yeah, the reject station is there not only for obviously for when parts go to whack, but because this is, you know, it's 4140 material, it's pretty hard material, not like the bronze there. We've got to use a lot of sister tooling. So, you know, we might have 4 or 5 different roughing tools, 3 or 4 finishing tools. And because they're changing every 30, 40 parts, we're chasing 0.1 of a millimetre. We're asking a lot for that tip to cut perfect first time round. And because of the 2 machine situation, there's actually a lag of 1 part. So we do end up with 2 or 3 when the sister tooling changes. Again, we are working on trying to how do we reduce that amount as well. You know, if we can get more out of each tip, we're not doing as many changes, so not as many end up over on the reject stillage. So working with Sandvik's our main supplier of tooling, and you know, they're great. They'll come in once a week, once a fortnight, spend half a day here, fine tuning things. And that's something we've learned too, you know, use the experts for that stuff. Not saying our guys aren't experts, but we have a problem that we can't solve. We don't try and battle through it anymore. We just get the experts in and work it out. So that's kind of machining in maybe a big nutshell, but is there any questions about the robots or just the machining in general? Is that all like? Sorry?
What's the failure rate every 100 foot per hour?
It's just less than 2% at the moment, yeah. But again, we want to try and improve on that as well. So, yeah. But sorry, you're right. You go.
It's uniquely prepared.
Yep.
Feedstock. So do you actually do that preparation here?
We do, yeah, so we do it here. So this is another thing that the guys in one of our Kaizen events come up with, because the stillages were on the ground and they were bending over and putting them in. So we had some excess material. It's good that we've got a welder and a spray booth and a laser cutter. Yes. And the boys put this together in literally a day and a half. So now so these stillages are obviously waiting to go into here. They pull the raw material out and then they can feed them into there. And just recently too, another little Kaizen we done was the bars would come in with swarf on them. Obviously when they're at the saw being cut, they're covered in swarf and the guys would have to clean each bar, but we now get the steel supply to do that. So for literally a couple of cents a bar, now we're not doing any of that cleaning, which was taking, I think it was a Kaizen that saved us about $10,000 a year in time that the guys would stand there cleaning them. So yeah, that's been awesome as well. And I must just say too, I forgot to say it on that one, that all of our machines on our robotic cells have cameras inside them, because that was one of those things where you come in the next morning, the machine stopped, it doesn't always tell you too much. So now there's cameras inside the machines, there's cameras above the machines. So again, if the robot has a bit of a tweak or a bit of an aneurysm, we can have a look at it and go back, and it's like being in the bunker with the NRL, find out what went wrong, and then we kind of work on the problems from there. But the machines inside the cameras that the guys can log into on their phone if they've got nothing better to do at home, that's been a godsend. So again, it's a little bit of an investment, but the payback's huge. So yeah, I might keep moving. So yeah, we're going to cut through now, and then we'll finish in assembly. So we'll go check the laser cutter out for now. Cool. So yeah, okay. So this is I guess our fabrication area. So we have our spray booth there for our spraying. We have our bender over in the corner, I think pedestal drill and a few other things in there, and our welding bay, or our man cave, Gordo's man cave as we like to call it. So we do a fair bit of welding, spray painting and bending, and then obviously we've got our laser cutter over here. So it's in operation at the moment, which is good. So we purchased the laser cutter, I think it was about 15 years ago, and the main thing our laser cutter does is our bracketry to hold obviously our gearboxes up onto the doors, as we can see in the background there. So this laser is definitely we're due for an upgrade, sorry, I should say, and because we did lose a lot of the business for our bracketry, because 15 years ago not everyone had a laser cutter. This day and age, every man and his dog's got one. So, but all the lean stuff we've been doing, we've been reducing costs, getting resource costs down. We're actually competitive again for our bracketry and stuff. So our OEMs are starting to come back to us now. But we do need to look at upgrading this laser very soon. So it was kind of the chicken and egg scenario. But yeah, a nice fibre optic machine would look very nice here. So again, that's just cutting our main mounting plate that our gearbox bolts onto. But it will do close to 200 different components per our machining area. So, and some of the bits and pieces that you'll see later for like our poultry winch. So it gets cut here out of 6mm steel, goes to the bender, gets folded up, gets welded in the welding bay, sent out for plating. Again, there's not much we don't do here. So we do our own injection moulding, laser cutting, fabrication, machining. But yeah, we be smart where we need to. So some things we outsource, but a lot of the stuff we can do in-house. Does anybody have laser cutters in there? No? Okay. You get outsourced? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think there's plenty of Newcastle, right? Plenty of Newcastle laser cutting mobs here. Okay, we'll keep making our way through, yeah. So that's cutting, I think that's 8mm mild steel at the moment, so I won't go in because I don't have my glasses on, but it cuts very nice. So it's probably still, even though it's a 15-year-old machine, those circles, small circles you can see, it's probably holding about 0.05 accuracy, which is pretty good. And the cut is precision. So we cut up to about 12mm mild steel here. And our bread and butter is probably 6 and 8mm is the stuff we do the most of. All of it's up in the rack here. So yeah, easy to get to. The guys will barricade off the area because it's when they're getting the sheets down with the forklift, load the table transfers through, and away it goes. Yeah. Awesome. Just be careful of the forklift tines.
One of our members is Christy Headley. They built their own plate station with the robot to sort of feed their laser cutter.
Well, no, if we can get the volume up, that's what we need to look at.
They just, they're a similar size of Spoke Engineering. They're not, rapid, lots of OEM manufactured stuff. Yep. But it made sense. They can tell. For stock control and that, just select a different cassette, load it on.
Perfect.
So you don't have that.
I might need some photos of that. Yeah. I think that'd be good. And then so we've got our plastic injection moulding machines here. So again, everything we see in our commercial products, so the base and the high lid and the encoder box and chain wheel, all of that's done in house too. So some of the parts you can see behind you. So all these plastic machines actually were where that new robotic cell is. So again, we wanted to keep all the machining on one side of the factory. We moved the plastics over to here, and it made sense because we had these big overhead cranes that weren't being utilised. The moulds were being loaded by these kind of walk-behind things that weren't overly safe. So now we've given the crane a bit of a birthday. It's got a nice new hoist on it. All the moulds are at ground level that can be easily moved out by a pallet jack, hooked up and then put into the machines. And the same guy that actually looks after plastics runs the laser. So instead of him going back and forth like he used to be, everything's on one side now. All the finished goods for plastics always lived here anyway. So it's, it made much sense to bring everything over. And we just purchased this new Yazumi machine. It was installed in January this year. And again, the benefits of that, similar to the robots, can run lights out. It turns on early in the morning and heats the material up, and it's kind of ready to go when the operator comes in, where especially the machine that was there would take a couple of hours to get kind of going each morning, and where that can be programmed to be ready to go. So I think there was parts going. I think you guys will all get the gist of what it's doing, but yeah, so the one down the end there I think was running. It may have stopped now, it might have done its cage, but yeah, so that's our plastics injection and our laser cutting area. So is there any questions on any of the laser cutting, or all okay? I'm not boring you too much. All right.
Using any recycled feed?
No, we do get asked that a bit. We're not, but it is something we need to look into, because I know our main plant, which is over in Nogales, they've got a massive, massive injection shop. They are using recycled material, so it is something we could definitely look into. Have to get our engineer over there to approve it, but yeah, we need to look into that again for sure. So yeah, Dave just kind of shivered then, I don't know, but Dave's head of engineering. So, but yeah, but look, it is something we need to look into. We do have a sustainability committee now that's been put together. So yeah, so that's something that that's on their radar as well. Yeah. Okay. Oh, cool. Okay, we might need to benchmark with them. Yeah, awesome. Okay. We might head through to assembly area.
How many people you have working?
So we've got 35 in West Gosford,
yep.
And in ANZ we've just got around the 100 mark. Okay. But globally there's about 5,500. Yeah, right. So our main plant in Nogales have got like 4,000 people there a day, right. Pumping out roller door openers for the North American. So LiftMaster, and that's a household name in America. Yeah. So that's part of the Chamberlain Group. Okay. Yeah.
So 35 people being shop floor support staff and all that.
Correct,
sort of stuff.
admin, and our engineering team's actually here as well. They're based in West Gosford, okay. Yep. And they're doing design changes and that for all of our Merlin product that's made offshore as well. Yep. So it's pretty handy having them on site. Yeah. Go and get out. And then yeah, this is our main assembly cell. So all the bits and pieces that you've seen from the robots that were being, or most of the bits and pieces, so the main gear and the worm shaft, all end up over here in this little sub-assembly area. So we can see on the trolley here that some bearings have been pushed on and the gears have been pushed onto the output shaft, and then it literally just feeds its way into the cell. So we've got kind of 4 main stations. So we've got our gearbox station here where the guys put all the castings and bearings and grease and everything together, and then it makes its way through to station 2 there where the encoders and all that get put on. So obviously, your door has to know when to stop opening and when to stop closing. So the encoders do all of that work. And then station 3 down the end there is where the motor and gearbox gets put together. So we have half horsepower, 1 horsepower, and 1.5 horsepower. And then it makes its way through to station 4, which is where everything gets tested, all the boards and that. So we can see that's like the electrical tester head on this one here. So again, we don't want to send out product to WA or anywhere for that matter and find out there's an earth leakage with the electrical stuff, or the customer can't set limits or reset door limits. So all of that's tested here before it leaves and goes out on site. And then everything's then by the crane, so the boys lift up the unit into the box. Everything goes through a scale station. So that's another thing that was implemented a couple of years ago, because at times our customer get out to do an install and the boys might have forgot to put the bolt kit in there. Extremely frustrating for the installer. So now everything goes through our scales, and it checks that it's okay. So one we prepared earlier. So we can see, for example, I take that bolt, the bolt's out, it goes red, and with the bolts in, it goes back to green. And then again, another thing we installed was our automatic tape machine. So it goes through, gets taped up, and then suction capped with the vacuum lifter onto the pallet. So really no manual handling again, which is what we want. So we don't want the guys doing the clean and jerk with the boxes. Yeah, it's all done with vacuum lifters and hoists, and again, decent investments, but in the long run, for the health and well-being of our staff, it's what we need to be doing. So yeah, so this is again the main assembly area. You see some of the plastic components that are made, so the chain wheel, for example. So again, if you have a blackout, the last thing you want to, is not to be able to close your door or open your door to get out. So our gearboxes obviously can engage with a chain, and it'll lift the door up and down. And we have a mechanical version as well, which is what the plastic machine over there was making. It's a little mechanic limit switch. So a couple of cams, there's literally hits a switch to know when the door stops, hits another switch when the door's all the way at the bottom. So there's still that version people order as well. But most of our product is the E-Drive. So again, you hook up remotes to it, the MyQ that you guys seen presented before, all of that goes through our E-Drive version.
What's the percentage, say, obviously, that comes with final product? What's the percentage of Australian built versus import? Obviously, electric motors, all that sort of stuff.
It's pretty close to 50-50, I think, yeah. So obviously the motors we get from overseas, the boards come from overseas as well. And then, you know, the bearings and circlips and all that stuff as well. So we're kind of just doing what we like to call the high-tech stuff, I suppose. So yeah, so shafts and gears and that. And that was probably going off track a bit, but that was part of what we had to do to justify the robot cells as well, because they're obviously not cheap. So we did our homework and went overseas and compared prices for the components, the shafts, gears, and by doing what we've done and the lights out and you know, not having to have people there, we still come out on top of China. So again, that's how we could justify having all that expenditure there. But yeah, even the casting. So we did used to do, like I said a little while ago, we do a lot, but we still don't do everything. We try and be smart. So the castings, for example, we did used to machine the castings in-house many years ago. But again, we've done some research, and what we were paying for the actual just blank casting, we now get a fully machined one, bearing and seals, for cheaper than that blank casting that hadn't even touched a machine yet. So, and look, the quality is outstanding. So we've got a sourcing part of Chamberlain Group in China that know where to go and where not to go. So if we've got something that we're thinking of outsourcing, we just send them the drawings, quantities and all of that stuff, and they do all the hard work for us. So yeah. So that's kind of the main sell. And again, a couple of other little lean things we did was, that comes to mind, was our material handler. So back in the day, before we went to one-piece flow here, we used to do batch production. So again, you'd put your 40 motors out and the 40 castings and then find out, oh no, it's not that motor, and you'd put them all away again. So now it's all one-piece flow, so at any time we can get an order from a customer. There might be a breakdown or someone's rammed a forklift into the openers, as they tend to do. We can run that unit through within 10 minutes. And again, that's all from just one-piece flow. And that was kind of our start of our lean journey. Is we had a guy come over from the US, talk to us about one-piece flow and lean, and everyone doubted him at the start. No one thought it would work, and all of a sudden the stopwatches come out, and then everyone believed very quickly that this was the way to go. Checking tack times and all of that, and yeah. And the other one too, material handler. So we've got our guys that are on their stations, and we don't want them having to leave the station to go and get some cartons or bearings or whatever. So our material handler is buzzing around on forklifts. He's checking the stock of the motors and the plastic parts and castings, and he's continually feeding the guys that are in the cell here, so they don't need to leave the cell at all, which is a lot different than how things used to be. Yeah.
Shane, can you attribute 5, 10, 50% improvement in, like you talk about tack time,
yep,
throughput
from the batch ones? Yeah, I've got a feeling it was around 30% improvement, but I feel we've got we can improve a lot more on that as well, from a time point of view. Yeah. So yeah, look, it was really game changing for us to go down that path. Again, like I said, it did take a while for people to buy into it, but we just started with small steps, and then we kind of where we are now. But we all acknowledge, continuous improvements and it's a never-ending journey, as they say. We know we're still not 100% perfect in everything, so we just try and improve that every day, and that was Graham's motto. I think it's on the back of your shirt, is it? Yep. So relentless pursuit of excellence is something we strive for. And again, we've got our continuous improvement board that I bypassed over there before. So there's iPads set up around the place, so at any time, not only can the guys log a hazard through those iPads, but a continuous improvement idea as well. So they log them through the iPads. We have a Kaizen meeting every week, and we look at the ideas that have gone through. Some of them we have to park because we'd like to put a second story on, guys, but it's a bit of an expenditure. But if someone's like, hey, I'm always walking over to there to get them boxes, can't we just move them a bit closer? They go and log them on the iPads, and then yeah, we just implement them. And we have a bit of a non-production time slot every Wednesday afternoon. And yeah, the guys can work on their projects like that. So again, it could be arranging some racking to fit more stuff in, could be adding more racking or bringing things closer to them, new tooling, all that stuff we get the guys to log and come up with, yeah.
Shane, with your improvement in productivity,
Yep.
lean, it also suggests that quality's improved. So
it is, yes.
Your rate of return, like warranty claims, drop?
It's definitely at the, and Dave, you can step in if need be as well, but it's, our CCN rate at the moment is the lowest it's ever been. So yeah.
And with those that come back,
yep.
are you able to identify what went wrong?
We do, and look, that's a good point. That has been a bit tricky at times, because sometimes if a unit gets installed at, next to Ayers Rock, to exaggerate, it is tricky to get them all the way back here.
Like, are you able to say who worked on that?
We are, yeah, 100%. So there's a quality check sheet in the background there that the guys have to fill in. It'll have on who was on station 1, 2 and 3. It's traced back to the work order as well. So we know who's been working on stuff. And the machining guys actually just recently were having a few things slip through the net from machining into assembly. And they've actually done some work with some identification markers. So now we can kind of, because we've got second shift happening at the moment. And there's always that, wasn't us, it was them, and wasn't us, it was them. So we've got some ID markers happening now, and yeah, but yeah.
I've seen a new method now that can help out on that.
That'd be perfect, yeah, yep. What do you reckon, Thomas? Always open?
Any thoughts of some smaller robotics in here?
We have, yes, we have. Yeah, there's definitely room for improvement in this cell. We're actually potentially looking into a new gearbox down the track as well. So we were mindful about how much we kind of spent in this area based on there could be a new model coming at some stage. But we have already had some quotes and had some guys come out to look at automating parts of the cell. And yeah, even looking into the robot's doing some of this sub-assembly work as well. There's no reason why we can't put a press into that cell. And that's pretty basic stuff, and that's stuff we need to, now we've got them kind of working as they should do, that's the next step now, yeah. I think that's it for the cell, but I might just take us down just for the last bit of the tour and just show you the other parts of assembly and the other products we do, and I think that's about it. If there's any questions, feel free to ask. I might just point out while we're there. So another thing that we do here as well is our 6S. So it's obviously 5S, but we just added the extra one with safety. And no word of a lie, this factory, it looks like this 99.9% of the time. And the reason, one of the main reasons it is always clean and everything's in its place is these 6S audits we do. So every area will have a 6S sheet. And what we do is we get the guys from, say, machining to do a check in assembly, and the assembly guy might check plastics. And every month we swap that over. And every week that 6S audit will be done. So it's checking that, if there's any safety hazards, pallets, etc., above head height wrapped properly, are the areas marked properly, like the line markings, is material where it belongs, etc., etc. And they'll pin the guys if need be. Again, it's kind of a bit of a friendly fire, I suppose. But yeah, look, if there's something out of whack, the auditor will put that down. What's the issue? What needs to happen and by when? And then the supervisor will keep an eye on that and make sure that's done. Again, fairly simple thing, but it works wonders for us. I would highly recommend that in any place for sure, to keep everything where it needs to be. And then we have some of the continuous improvement ideas here that the guys have come up with that they need to work on. And then some of the safety stuff around our cranes and our checklists and that as well. But all of our forklift checklists, our pre-start safety walk that's done every day is all done via the iPads. So the supervisor will have the iPad and the guys will go and check the exits. They'll check that there's no oil spills. They'll check things above head height are wrapped. They all report back to the huddle, and then they'll mark it off on the iPad, and then that email gets sent out to all the managers and supervisors. And if there's anything in there that needs corrective action, if there's any issues in there, we expect a corrective action in there as well, and then we can monitor that that's been done. And we might just finish off down this way. I might just focus more on this cell.
Shane, as far as the robots go and your 3 S's, so your safety, productivity and quality, where do the robots make the biggest difference for you?
Probably all 3,
Really?
to be honest, yeah.
So in terms of an order of magnitude versus doing it manually, what do you reckon?
So productivity would probably win on that account with the robot cells.
Yeah.
But like I said, quality, like having every part going to a gauge and being measured and then the size being put back into the machines would definitely be close second.
Yeah.
But then safety as well, because no one, like these bars are kind of get heavy after a while and manual handling and that. So yeah, definitely.
Affects all your metrics really.
For sure, exactly. And having them run unmanned, they're not just running because you guys are here, these would be running normal state, so that's awesome, yeah.
They're not running, they're not making money.
Exactly right, yeah. We start lowering the oxygen in the air. And then maybe just the last product I thought I'd just showcase if people aren't aware. So again, another good news story for Grifco and for Australia manufacturing is our poultry winch that we do. So not only, so I should start with what they actually do first. So these winches here actually go up onto the shed roofs of poultry sheds, and they have the wires that go down to the food and drinker lines for the chickens. So we're a massive player in Australia with that type of product. So it's not only door openers that we do, but we also dabble in the poultry industry as well. I should say more than dabble in the poultry industry. And again, just recently, we've actually cracked the American market as well. So we're actually starting to supply product over to the US to start automating their sheds, because believe it or not, America poultry sheds are still very manual, opening the curtains every day for the chickens and controlling the food and drink lines with by hand, but our winches do all that automatically. So again, bolt up to the roof, hold the food and drink line. As the chickens are getting bigger, obviously the food comes off the floor more and more as they're getting bigger, and then when it's time for the chickens to go, the winches pull all the food and drink lines up to the roof, they clean the sheds out, get the next round of chicks in, drop it down, and the process starts again. So again, we're exploring opportunities as well for those winches to see what else. They can do lots of things with those winches, so we're starting to look into that and dabble with what other markets we can get into, but it's very exciting for us having just cracked that American market with our poultry stuff. So yeah, again, good news story for Australia. So, and that's it. And I guess in the end there, sorry, is our special. So more lower volumes, but a very important part of our business, because certain places, picture Harvey Norman for example, have got roller doors throughout the showroom. If a fire breaks out in the bedding, for example, you don't want that fire spreading. So we actually have a fire descent gearbox, which actually, if a fire breaks out in a warehouse, it's got a fusible link. If that link gets to a certain temperature, it will break, and the door will automatically descend down, so it contains the fire into a certain part. Again, Grifco are pretty much the only ones that do that type of product, as well as flame-proof units for highly combustible or flammable operations. So we do a unit there that won't let any sparks out, and so the whole pharmaceutical place won't go up, and real niche things. Again, very big part of our business as well. So I think that's most of it. Is there any questions or? Sorry? Yeah, we might, we'll go for one last tour.
You can't get enough.
That's it.
Yourself.
Yeah, Shane, why isn't your poultry cell called the poultry pen?
Poultry pen, yeah, we could change the name. Okay, and then, yeah, very rightly pointed out by Em, another product that we actually send over to the North American market is our fire hoist there. So they're just what I was talking about before in regards to fire descent doors, where the door may need to automatically descent down. These are just a manual version, so they're still operated by chain on a daily basis, or it could be more a kind of door that doesn't need to be open and closed that often. It just kind of sits there in an open state. Again, this hoist here, we're starting to get really good breakthroughs in the American market. And again, believe it or not, they're ordering product from Australia for their doors over in the US, which is great. And this particular product is really good for the factory because, as you can see in this kind of sub-assembly area there's so many, like there are different type of gear, there's different inserts, there's different machined and laser cut parts. There's lots of bits and pieces going to those units. So it's great from, gives us a lot more work to do and great for recoveries and all that type of stuff. So all these cells, the poultry cell and this American ham winder cell, have all just been relaid out. So again, we kind of started with our main cell, and then we worked our way through specials. Actually, we started with specials, main cell, and then we worked on poultry, and now we're just tweaking this American hand winder cell because we're getting more volume. We obviously need to get better and quicker at how we make these units. So yeah, that's kind of it, I think. Yeah. Any other questions or all okay? Cool. I think Graham's just got the board, which I did bypass before, but by all means, have a look at the improvement board. If you've got any questions, let me know. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the tour, and yeah, thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Thomas. Good boy. Thank you. Feel free to grab a drink or yeah. Thanks, mate. Nice couple.